Welcome to the Mental Fitness Podcast. Today's entrepreneurs are mental athletes that have to know about the mind and how to keep it fit. Our goal is to increase our resilience against stress and anxiety, optimize our productivity, motivation, and optimism by learning about the human mind through psychology, neuroscience, and human behavior. I'm your host Ozan. I'm a founder who has experienced the challenges of launching and growing a business and a keen student of human behavior over the last 15 years. I'll share with you what I know and learn. Hundreds of impactful, behavior-changing ideas are waiting to be discovered by us. Let's begin now. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Mental Fitness Podcast for Entrepreneurs. I'm your host Ozan. And I have been an entrepreneur for the last 4 or 5 years. It's an interesting journey. It's interesting because it's not a journey only of material wealth, learning about the business, learning about technology, learning how to grow a business, marketing, product design. That is a battle in itself, learning all these and learning how to run a business. And sometimes failing in those businesses, sometimes becoming successful. But this is also, and I think this is the more important bit, this is also a journey of individuals' self-recognition. It's a journey of understanding yourself, getting face-to-face with what motivates you, what drains your energy, what electrifies you, and what your mission and what your wants out of your life is. So something that I strongly believe is at the very core of this growth journey is taking a good look back regularly and understanding and clearly codifying even what you have achieved, what you have learned, and in the areas how you became stronger. There are very difficult moments in the life of an entrepreneur. There are moments where you will face failure, you'll get rejection from individuals, your product will not work, you'll run into situations where you're not happy with the results, you will have financial troubles, you'll have troubles with your social status, because entrepreneurs are usually losers or people that are very, very successful. There doesn't seem to be a middle ground. Those people who have made it are incredibly successful, and people who are usually working in more regular 9-to-5 jobs look up to them. But if they have not yet made it in the literal sense of the word, then they are looked down upon rather than looked up at. So that is the dilemma, or one of the dilemmas of being an entrepreneur, and that comes down to managing your own self. Managing your own emotions, managing your mental fitness, for the perfect use of that word, and that is only possible with really celebrating the successes and the wins you have. Yes, startups, entrepreneurship, and building your own business is about failure to a certain extent. It's about tolerating failure. It's about learning from failure. It's about anticipating and being okay with failure, being okay with trial and error and experimentation and learning from those. Those are all good, but these are all psychologically draining. We are not just mechanical creatures that can try and try and try again. We need that motivation, we need that hope, we need the anticipation. And so this brings us to the central topics that I want to share with you. So essentially, I would like to focus the rest of this session on 2 core ideas. The second idea that I will talk about is actually a list or a series of lists. It's a 3-list approach to actually optimizing your anticipation. But the first one is actually an idea. And that idea is this. You will need to experience the difficult situations, just like Buddhist monks experience pain. And this is an interesting story that is worth diving into for a bit. So the Buddhist monks, they do experience pain. They are able to tolerate pain. They have higher pain thresholds. They're able to tolerate bigger amounts of pain. But this is not because they feel less of that pain. It is actually quite the opposite. It is because they are able to be in the moment and recognize and fully experience that pain itself. Because they're able to do that, because they're not running away from the pain, because they're okay with the experience of that pain, even though their understanding and feeling of that pain is higher compared to an individual who does not meditate regularly or has gone through that self-transformation process. They are able to manage that pain better. And this underlines the idea of experiencing that emotion you're having fully as a way of growth. So, going back to the life of the entrepreneur experiences pain, loss, failure, and I won't be the only one to say this, but entrepreneurs, me included, experience these difficult moments quite strongly. These emotions quite strongly. But when it comes to the good moments, when it comes to that critical moment of that feeling that you have after you've made a big sales, that moment when you see a content that you've created getting huge traction and some sort of virality, seeing your company grow, recognition from your peers, your competitors even. And when you have these moments of wins and successes, you have to go all in. You have to give your 100% to experiencing that pleasure, experiencing the elevation, the elated feeling of that success, because it is the moment to fill up your tank. Because down the road, you'll again run into difficult circumstances, again fail, again need to iterate and experiment. But that moment is a good moment, and you need to live that good moment to its fullest extent and see it as a resource that you need to sap to the best of your abilities to fill up your tank, to fill up your resources. This is a reflex to a certain extent, but there is also a methodical way of accomplishing this, and that is the second bit I'd like to share with you. It goes to this list, this three-part list that I've mentioned briefly. So the first part of that list goes like, what I achieved. And in this list, you can do this exercise. Think of this as a mental fitness training. You can do this exercise by yourself. So if you're listening to this podcast in a situation where you can actually take notes, it might be good to pause this, complete these lists, and then come back to that. If not, then it would be a good idea to actually set yourself a reminder. Maybe pause this and set yourself a reminder for yourself. Maybe like a calendar invite, maybe something like that, and note down what you need to do. So the first list is a list of things that you have achieved in the last 12 months. At least 10 items should be on this list. So what are the top 10 things that you feel that you have achieved in the last 12 months? The second list is a list of what you have learned in the last 12 months. Now, learnings come from failure, but they also come from successes. So look at the areas, look at the domains that you have been successful in. Look at your failures as well. And by taking a cumulative, comprehensive approach, jot down the 12 top most important things that you've learned in the 10 top most important things you've learned in the last 12 months. The last one is jot down the areas, the domains in which you feel you have become stronger. This might be psychological resilience. It might be managing your own time better. It might be managing meetings. It might be productivity. It might be social search engine optimization. It might be social media. So areas that you have actually both psychologically, technically, in digital skills, in human skills. So taking a very comprehensive approach again here, list down the areas that you have become stronger at. Now you will have 3 lists. What you're gonna do with these lists is actually pin them on your wall, pin them somewhere where you can see them, where you can daily or weekly take a look at them and appreciate the areas that you've grown. They will serve a very functional and clear purpose, and that clear and functional purpose is this. Each day, when you sit down at your desk to do something, when you're working on something, your reality is something like this. You know you're making progress subconsciously, but that progress is not always visible. But the problems themselves and the financial worries and problems with other people, customers, employees, whatever, these problems, these areas of risk are very visible. So what we are doing by writing down and pinning these 3 lists, what I have achieved, what I have learned, and how I became stronger, is we are actually just balancing the scales. Because otherwise, we only see the negative. That's a propensity. Because these are areas of risks, and because this has to do with survival, we are automatically more attuned at perceiving risk. Human mind experiences fear before all emotions. So we are very, very receptive to fear and risk. And as a result of that, if you don't have these affirmations, if you don't see them regularly, or at least once a week, what happens is the emotional state you're in is a state that is in a negative cycle. It's a vicious cycle of self-doubt and decreasing productivity, which in turn is gonna increase risks and the ideas of failure. That's gonna even be bigger problems. That's gonna stop your growth and your development. So that was the core idea of this session. Balance it out. Balance it out by writing down and helping your mental state by actually creating the conditions where you can see them day to day. So this is the exercise of this session. I hope this is useful to someone who is in need of these. They are certainly useful to me. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.